Good day guys, and welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be learning how to make this Bubu gown with fringe at the down part. So I'm going to be using this fringe for the down part of my clothes. So I'm using 2.5 yards of cloth to cut out this material this time. So depending on how long you want yours to be, but I want my gown to be kind of short with the fringe also. So I'm using the whole full length of the material. So I just folded my cloth into 4 like so. So after folding it, I place it on the table to cut out. So the first thing you're going to be doing is to be marking out the length of your gown. So the length I'm going to be using is 39. So I did like 1 inches sewing allowance because I'm going to be attaching the fringe at the down part. So I marked out the length of my gown. So I'm going to go ahead to actually mark out the length I'm going to be using. So I mark out my bust line, which is 10 inches. Then I came down to mark out my waistline. So after that, I'm going to be coming down by 9 inches to mark out my hip line also. So after doing that, I'm going to be coming up to my bust line. Where I marked out my bust line, I'm going to be measuring my bust. So my bust divided by 4, I'm going to mark it out. Then I'm going to be adding 1 inches for sewing allowance, then additional 2 inches for ease. I don't really want my clothes to be fitted, so depending on how you want your own, you can actually add 1.5 if you want. So I come down to my waistline, divide into 4, then I add 1 inch sewing allowance and 2 inches is that's 3 inches. Then I did the same for my my hip line also. So after marking it out like this, I'm going to come up, then mark out my shoulder. The shoulder I'm actually using is 8 inches, so I mark out my shoulder line like that. So then I'll be marking out my neckline. So the neckline I'm going to be using for my back is 3 inches by 2.5 inches. So the front is actually v-neck, so I'm going to be cutting the front part, the front neckline separately. And then for my front neckline, so these I'm going to be actually marking it out. So I'll be coming down the same 3 inches by probably 8 inches. I want it to come down a little bit, so that's how I'm going to be marking my front neckline out also. So before I mark that out, I'm going to be cutting the back first. So I'm going to be joining all my lines like so. So I'll just connect from my waist to my hip line, then to my bust line. So sorry the chalk is not actually showing, but I try as much as possible to mark it out so you guys can see very well. So I just marked it out like so to the down part like that. So I'm going to be marking out my round hole measurement. So where my bust line actually ended up like this, so I just came up, marked out 8 inches. So look, mark the line like that. So where I mark that is where I'm going to be stitching on my sewing machine like that. So how I just mark it down, that's exactly the way I'm going to be stitching on my sewing machine. So I'm just going to come up then to mark out my shoulder line, to actually cut it out and slant it, then cut out my neckline, my back neckline. So after cutting out my shoulder line, I'm going to be taking my back panel, open it up so I can take my measurements at the other side also. Remember, it's a Bubu gown. We are going to be stitching it down at both sides. So this I'm going to lay it out. So the measurement that I marked out at this side, I'm going to be repeating it at the other side of my back panel also. So marking it out to actually make it very easier when sewing, so you don't make a mistake and everything. So the measurement I actually have here, I'm going to be putting it back to the other side of my back panel. So I just removed the front panel so I can work very much better. So I'm going to be turning to the other side like this. So I'll be marking out the exact same measurements that I have here also. So I just marked out the same measurement I have at the other side. to this side also. You can actually make your ease probably 1 inches, but I actually want my, remember I said I actually want my bigger, that's why I'm using 2 inches. So I'm going to open it up like this. So if I open it up, this is what it's going to look like. The chalk is not actually showing on this video very well, but this is how it's supposed to look like. The measurements are actually marked out at the both side. So I'm going to be taking out my front panel. I'm going to be marking out my neckline 3 inches by 8 inches. So it depends on how you want your neckline to be. So I want it to be actually kind of deeper a little bit. So I'm using 3 inches by 8 inches. And then actually go ahead to mark out your measurement again at the front panel, but I think it does not really matter since you've already marked it out on the back panel and it is visible enough for you to actually see and sew on when you take it to your sewing machine. So before I start sewing, I'm going to be taking the back panel to the sewing machine. I'm going to be using the cloth to do the bias. You can actually use probably like a black materials to do your bias, so I'm going to be using that. So I'll take the side also. I'm going to be taking the side in by 1 inches. You can actually use any materials to turn it in on the cloth itself. So this is what it looks like after turning in my front and the back neckline. Then actually stitch down my shoulder line also. So then remember the line that we actually marked out that was visible the other time. So you're going to be taking it to the sewing machine and going to stitch it down like so. So I've already stitched down my own. So this is how it looks like. You will be stitching it down on the right side of the clothes, the front and the back side, the wrong side facing each other. So you'll be stitching it down on the right side of the clothes. So then I'm going to be coming down to actually stitch the fringe on it also. So I just left probably like 1 inches. I did not sew it down by 1 inch, so I'm able to attach the fringe at the down part. So this is how you cut this beautiful and gorgeous tie under 1 hour. If you find this video helpful, please comment, like and subscribe.